think. All right, go ahead.
We're on.
We are on, yeah.
Okay, let's do this. I guess today we're going to flip the script a little bit. This is our fireside chat.
Hello, everybody. I'm Natalie. This is Evan, as per usual. But he's going to grill me this time. Usually I'm the one asking the questions around here, but we thought we'd do something a little bit different this time around.
Why not? I'm going to start with an apology. I got dressed up for you, but it's actually for an event that we're going to later. The Canadian Screen Awards are tonight.
Which is very exciting.
And the big controversy is that my project is against Natalie's project.
I think it's a pretty friendly controversy, but I got to work on the digital strategy for Winona Earp last year for the second year in a row, and we are nominated in the digital category for the second year in a row, which is very exciting. And up against you guys,
keep coming.
You're up for two, right? Two of your
so we're in two different categories: fiction and nonfiction.
Right.
And so the one that we're competing against is a project called Thornwood Heights.
Right.
Which was a cool, like 360-degree murder mystery story, and
it's really cool.
It tied into the Harlequin book series and a film on LMN. So fingers crossed, all of the clients are going to be there. So it's nice to have them on stage, and So
you're looking very spiffy to potentially receive your award.
I'm trying, but I mean, I'm also very aware that Winona Earp already swept the category, and in my opinion did even more on the second round, right?
We had to no one was more delightfully surprised than I perhaps that we won the first year. So my colleagues definitely felt like that we had to up it. You got
to top.
We had to top ourselves, if no one else, right? So whereas we had there was a lot of world building and a lot of interactive storytelling that we did the first year. For the second year, they built a full-on ARG that I got to work with a little bit. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be really, really interesting to see how it shakes out, and it's kind of neat that I get to medium win either way. I get to have good feelings about it either way. It's like, either the project that I worked on or the studio I work in now wins. So there's really no bad
except
outcome.
Orphan Black.
Oh right, or Orphan Black could just sweep the thing.
Orphan Black, that little show that no one's heard of.
Right, for sure. Yeah, that really low
just kill us on it. So
that's
the lose-lose kind of condition. But
other than Orphan Black is a very good show.
It's a small win in that Orphan Black is good. And it should get something. But
for sure it should.
Not this thing.
No, we want it for sure.
No, one of us
needs to win.
So that's why the monkey suit today. It's probably the most I'll be dressed up for Twitch.
Fanciest man on Twitch today.
Today I wanted to spend some time interviewing Natalie because the last time that we did, maybe two firesides ago, I was saying here's a game design document.
Yeah, that was 2 ago. Yeah, when we sat down with Jeff and Aaron and had sort of a round table discussion.
Yeah, and just saying, look, this needs to be a collaborative document and we need to build it. And these guys have taken it to heart. And I say these guys meaning Jeff, who you've seen drawing. Wayne has returned to us, and he's going to be seen in a few streams coming up.
Yeah.
Aaron has joined the group, and Natalie. And between the four of you, there's been a lot of conversation.
There's been a lot of conversations and definitely a lot of work back and forth. So the game design document was an extraordinary starting place. I think that you and Wayne and Adam, I believe, collaborated, sort of the three of you together on that, gave a really great blueprint for a few key concepts of the world that you wanted to build and the game that you wanted to populate. So we've sort of tried to take those core concepts and run with them as much as possible to the point where we're starting to iterate out possible control schemes. We're building out the world in general, doing some some narrative structure, some deepening our understanding of who these characters are, what they do, what their specific powers and abilities are, what their backstory is, how they relate to each other, and
no small thing.
No small thing, yeah, for sure. And we're approaching or very near to the point where and definitely there in a few places where the next stage is going to be building it. We've drafted out what we think are the best, most likely to be successful places to start, and now we need to actually see if we're correct. It's like, okay, we think this is the best arrangement for the control scheme, but until we actually build it and try it and see how it feels when you're operating a controller or a keypad or whatever, we don't know if we're correct yet. So it's kind of interesting or exciting, really, to be at that place where the next stage is discovering if we are in fact correct in our brainstorming by starting to build the thing.
Right. I mean, I cannot believe the number of questions that were left unanswered in the last version. Almost everything needed fleshing out. I'm interested to think about what's been the hardest question in all of the things that you've been brainstorming. Which thing for you has been
That's an interesting question.
Hard to even wrap your head around?
Probably the thing that we have come back to the most is okay, but what is the relationship between the Mugu and the gardener? Why does she need them? What is the point of them? So that kind of so to just kind of give viewers a little bit of a sense of that, the gardener is our sort of the avatar that the player, I guess, inhabits as a character. That's the character that you're supposed to identify with the closest and who has the most agency, who you essentially pilot around and make choices for them.
Yep.
And she's sort of this invulnerable space grandma who is now exploring the galaxy and trying to build the best terrorarium that the Intergalactic Horticultural Society has ever seen, populated with the deadliest plants. And she interacts with, we know that she interacts with the world and with all the puzzles via the Mugu, who are the adorable little semi-sentient fungal creatures that you kill as often and violently as possible in order to achieve your goals.
I'm there.
Totally there with this, but what the exact relationship between those characters are is, I think, the thing that we are that we keep returning to is okay, as the question that we keep having to iterate on and answer over and over again.
Is it a narrative question, or is it a mechanical question that's
I think it's both. I think it's both. So often Jeff is saying is asking over and over again, and I think very valid, why can't she do this herself? What is it about the Mugu that is actually necessary for interacting with this world? Is this, what are, making sure that they are necessary and make sense, even no matter how wacky narratively or how funny the concept is. It's not really about that. It's why is it that she is using these creatures instead of anything else, instead of just picking up a wrench or a flamethrower or a shovel herself. What is it about that relationship that is symbiotic, so that's a problem that we keep coming back to.
Is it just general unanswered questions, or are there competing theories?
I mean, I like the theory that she just kind of can't be arsed to do it herself, that she very much enjoys the process of sure, she could get her hands dirty, but she's old. She doesn't, it's not even that it would be uncomfortable or that she can't, she just doesn't want to particularly. She would much rather order this army of tiny quasi-magical minions around. Like, doesn't that sound like more fun?
Yeah.
So I like that. I for sure like the just like can't frankly be bothered to do anything else theory.
Right. Okay.
So, sure, fine.
I like it. We're okay.
Yeah.
Competing views.
Possibly one potential view there. Another is that they are actually a fairly dangerous invasive species. Not dangerous in the sense that like a single mugu or even like a lot of them necessarily are dangerous, but these are like weird little things that breed out of control. And they, sort of mugu when left to themselves really do two things. They walk around and they multiply. And so in most places in the galaxy, they have been happily eradicated, in the, it's like, what if crabgrass, but was also slime mold, but was also like a locust, like that kind of like,
right.
They're sort of considered vaguely plague-like, or perhaps more like smallpox, something that you don't, somewhere in between those where like you really don't want to have to deal with one of them. So most places don't have them and certainly don't want them around, but she has figured out a way specifically to control them, and kind of harness that energy, I suppose, is a way of saying it. So that even though they can breed out of control, she believes that she can control them, and that this is her edge. Like this is what's control. This weird ability to control this invasive species is the thing that's going to give her the edge in this competition.
In this worldview, would she get in trouble for having them?
Oh, we haven't like fully iterated that out, but like I don't imagine it's like
are these contraband creatures because they
like I wonder
destroy whole civilizations with their breeding?
They're probably it's probably not like a good thing that she's bringing them onto the planet. Oh, we are. Are we? Okay.
What's the best way to look at these up?
Oh, that's a great question. Where is our chat client here? No, we don't want to report ourselves. Well.
I mean, I can barely read.
This too. Is it Jeff? No.
Well, I think it says.
No, it's Reckless Tempest. It's Alex. Hi, Alex. How you doing?
Oh,
there we go.
There we go. Got some echoes going.
Oh, okay. Here, hang on. Let me fix it. I'll fix it. I think I know how to fix it. This should do it.
Did that help?
Hopefully this will solve the problem. Okay.
Oh no, being assaulted by echoes.
Not assaulted by echoes. Well, hopefully he will tell us in a moment if I have fixed it or not. No. What about
Desktop Audio 2? Is that bad news?
that one?
Is that
How about that? How about now?
Did that just cut our mic though?
No, muting one of these works, and I can just never remember which one it is.
Well, that one may have just cut our sound.
Yes, it solved it. Hey, it's that one.
And you can still hear us. And Alex is going to just confirm that yes, you can still hear us.
You can still hear us?
Oh, the second yes is the one we need, Alex.
Yes again. Okay, great. Hooray! Okay, good. Yay, problem solved. Okay, yeah, it's muted now. Okay.
What a bummer. We had...
It's never a Twitch stream without something going, listen,
yeah.
You're correct. It just isn't.
Adrian's got up there.
Look, it's just, this Yeti mic hates me. It has hated me since the first day that it arrived, and that's...
I don't know. Like...
We'll solve this at some point.
It's just a bummer.
It is a bummer.
That's sorry. All. I mean, why does this only happen to us?
Why you and me?
The setup. It's just a different.
Anyway, sorry about that. But it should be. We're back. It should be solved now. Sorry about the echo from before. But let's get back to
we were talking about if you can deal with the echoes.
Yeah. It should be solved.
If it's a world in which like this is her edge and she has brought them with her, and it seems like these things are invasive and have been eradicated elsewhere.
Yeah,
isn't she hiding them?
I mean, that. Like, yeah, is this basically, are they like performance enhancing Mugu? Is that kind of what you're saying, right? Like, is this kind of like her space gardening steroids?
Now there's an audio syncing issue? No.
Well,
Uh,
at least it's not echoing anymore.
yeah.
Oh, Aaron said he introduced a delay,
On purpose?
I guess, at some point. He said he would undo it, but it is clear perhaps that didn't happen. It's okay.
All right.
We'll get this. We will eventually get this solved.
Well,
I promise.
We don't know how to remove the delay that has been added to this. I can send a note to Aaron if we really want to keep going.
Well, I think it's just that the audio is not like synced up perfectly with our video.
Yes,
okay.
I appreciate that that's what it is, but
right. Do we want to pause really quickly?
We might be better off starting it again. I don't know, but with a delay, it's hard to. If the delay has been added, then it'll just be added in the next one.
Yeah, like it will. Like
Yeah.
if we start over again, it will still be there.
Okay.
So probably we'll keep going.
We're gonna forge ahead for a little while.
Okay.
And in our recording, do you think it's got that echo? Have you ever tested that?
If it's in the Adrian's saying it's like a second delay.
Okay.
We have tested it, and if it is audible to people watching the stream, then it does get recorded. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately.
All right. Good. I'm gonna keep challenging you then with our delay.
For sure.
We're gonna get through another little while of chatter. So thank you for joining us, everyone. Adrian, Alex,
whoever else might be there.
Is there a third, or is it really just between those two?
I think those are the two that have come up the most. There are other questions that have emerged in terms of like exactly how she controls them, and that potentially reflecting a bit on that relationship.
What I've heard in conversation is that she eats something and then like has some either telepathic or spore-based connection to people.
Well, it's not necessarily even eating something. So the way that she there's a couple kind of like ways in which she interacts with the Mugu. One is through using reagents, right, which are like the sort of powers that exist in the game.
Yeah.
And we're not sure if that's something that like happens to her, or it's something that like she does to the Mugu, as though she like fertilizes them or sprays something on them, and then like they change form or their abilities are altered through that process. And then the questions that we still have to answer are in terms of how she, like what the mechanism of that control is. We haven't, is sort of still something that we're considering, in that like, is it like a mind control thing? Is she like, does she have spores that she releases? Is it based on pheromones? Is it like a kind of telepathy or radio wave? You know what I mean? Like exactly how, and a lot of those questions I feel are to some extent artistic choices. Like, what does Jeff want to draw? Like, what looks coolest? What is the like visual impression that she that we want to give in terms of like how, is it for delivering the reagents? Is it more fun if she like eats a thing and there's this like spore puff and they change, or is it like more fun for her to like pick up like a fertilizer hose and spray them down, and like what sort of just what is the visual appeal of those choices? And the same sort of thing, like how when she's trying to like however she exudes her control over the Mugu, like what looks the best in terms of how she does that. And I feel like to a certain extent those are aesthetic or design choices, what makes the most sense there.
One of the other mechanics that we've been talking about is how much it changes if, so she uses a reagent to change the Mugu. Is that something that affects all the Mugu, or just a local group of Mugu? And could, because there's a technique that I know you guys have been talking about of kind of stacking, like having different types of Mugu in concert, and that those would do something that's kind of additive.
Do different things. Well, since Wayne has returned, he has encouraged us, and I think correctly, to simplify that mechanic as much as possible, especially for the first iteration. So he believes pretty strongly that whatever reagent that we use applies to all of the Mugu at the same time.
Right.
That it is, you can swap between them quite quickly and easily. Like that's to keep the game. It's an instant sort of thing where you are casting a thing and they all change.
Right.
And he feels that way, and I don't disagree, because to keep the gameplay as quick as possible.
Yeah.
And to sort of move things along and have, in other, sort of strategies that we're talking about where it's a much slower process and you have to fertilize the corpses and then the new ones are born from that crop or whatever. That does take time, right? There's sort of a longer process to do that. And if we want to, and Wayne sort of feels that that mechanism should be quicker and the levels should be relatively quick, and the pace should be at certain points a bit frantic, and that a lot of the fun and the flow of the game is going to come from solving problems and sort of chaining those solutions together relatively quickly. And he feels that if you have to select multiple groups and the process of changing them is slow, that all of that really slows the game down. Right. So I think that for the first based on our most recent conversations, I think for the first build, we're going to be trying something that is as quick as possible. So therefore, you can switch between what type of Mugu are active, which is all of them, very quickly, and that you can do that kind of as often as you want,
right,
and just to sort of see how that feels, and then slow it down if we need to, or complicate it if we need to. But I think that where we've settled at this moment is trying to get a version of the game that goes as quickly as possible first.
Okay. Okay.
That's sort of where we settled there.
The other thing that I know has been quite challenging is it's just a puzzle game. So start making puzzles.
Yeah. I found that process very fun.
Yeah.
Actually. And I really like the puzzle, the sort of initial puzzle concept that we've come up with. I hope so. I made it, so I hope I like it. I think that kind of multi-stage puzzle that requires or could be solved several different ways. I really like that kind of thing, and I think that's pretty fun. So I don't know if you want me to spoiler it and talk out the full demo puzzle, but I can if that is
I don't
fun or
know. We might not have I'm cool with it. Do you think it's ready for prime time?
It for sure might not be the final iteration of this puzzle, but
let's walk into it.
All right, sure. So the very rough concept is that so you and your Mugu alien planet, there's a larger pool of water, which can be any sort of liquid, but larger pool of water, smaller pool of water, floodplain between.
Okay.
And the plant monster that you have to capture on this particular level, lives in the larger pool, and there's a visible den or hole, the sort of something that say a moray eel would come out of. There's something visibly suspicious in that pool.
Okay.
And if you drown a Mugu in the pool, the creature will come out and eat it and then retreat.
Because the easy plan would be to start throwing Mugu in the water
and just see what happens.
To build, but with the intent of building a bridge of corpses.
Certainly, or just see what's happening there, right? What happens if I drown? Is this acid? Is it how do Mugu react to this particular body of water, right? So as it would be a fairly easy how do I interact with this environment first? Well, I'll throw a Mugu in the pool and see what happens. And if you throw a Mugu in the far pool, the creature comes out, but it can't reach it obvious, because there is in fact,
Land.
there's land between, so it won't go out. It'll just sort of like look, but then return.
Okay.
So the stages of the puzzle are to somehow flood the floodplain, whether that's by digging that out, or adding more water, or in some way like creating a connection between those. And we've plotted out like a few potential ways to do that. Baiting the creature to come there, where it will then swim across the floodplain while it is busy eating a mugu or two, cutting off its retreat back to its den, so it is now trapped, and then subduing it while it is there. And the creature that we've designed is somewhere between a like kelp and an electric eel.
Wow.
So is the way that we've sort of been talking through it. So potential, so there's
It's going to be great that this terrarium needs a water feature.
Right off
the bat.
Definitely you're going to need some sort of pond-like aspect in your terrarium.
Okay.
And once it's in there, you need to figure. So there are sort of 3 different component parts, each with multiple ways of solving it, right? Like there is the you have to get the water between the two. You have to then cut it off, and then you have to subdue it. And we've talked through several possible, reagent or power combinations that can be used to do all of those things. So depending on what you have in stock, there is actually a handful of ways to do each of these elements of the puzzle.
Right.
One of the things we've talked about in terms of what the gardener can do is it is her job to harvest the creature. Like, she's not going to let the mugu like handle the thing. Like, it is for sure something she wants to be very like involved in that process.
Okay.
But her special touch to finally like take the thing and like put it in. That's really where she shines.
Yeah.
But they're responsible for any sort of dirty, messy, potentially dangerous work. She wants to deploy them. So whether that's making the environment clear for her to walk through, so overcoming an environmental hazard, or when it comes to isolating and subduing the creature, like she wants, once it's either tired or pacified or stunned or asleep, that's when she'd like to come in and scoop it up and like artfully arrange it in the terrarium. But she's not like super interested in like dealing with it when it's angry and shooting fire, or trapped and thrashing around, or like just otherwise being obstinate.
Right.
So that's kind of the dynamic that we're playing with there. So we'll that's the sort of like initial demo puzzle that we came up with, which has like several component parts, several different ways that each of those like stages can be overcome. Some timing element involved, right? Because if you don't block it off in time, it for sure can retreat again.
Right.
And also each of these stages of the puzzle respond to experimentation, or they sort of reveal themselves via experimentation. So if you, depending on what you try and what you try first, like you might discover like, oh, digging here will cause the water to flow through, like, okay, I'll dig here more, or like I'll blow this up and see, and then it collapses, and okay, or like, oh, if I put a water mugu there and it makes a little pool, like I can make several of these little pools, and then at every single stage of the puzzle, the environment responds to being interacted with in ways that, because I think something that we all would really like to see in the game is learning through interaction with every single environment. That the environments that we introduce the gardener and the mugu into should make you want to dig into them and try things. You should immediately want to like throw mugu bodies at problems and see what happens. And again, like if you have to like toggle between your reagents and try them all and see what happens in sort of any context. So we tried to build a puzzle that filled all of those categories, and that's what we came up with so far.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So
happens.
It's the thing that happens. The audio cuts off.
Well, what happens is we have the audio doubles. Is that should be fixed now? But
is that so? It doubles itself just arbitrarily.
Yeah, and then sometimes it stops doing that.
We need another system.
It's definitely possessed. Like,
I mean, we have a microphone in that camera.
Right, we do have a microphone in that camera.
Is that more reliable?
I mean, it's not as
is the doubling.
Good. Like,
no, I know.
Like, it's not. Yeah, see, it works now.
Yeah.
See, it's fine.
Oh, and the sync is fixed, obviously.
Yeah.
So the delayed one was just cut off.
Yeah. Cool. It's cool.
Well, I see it firsthand now. This is like voodoo going on.
It's like actually spooky, right? Like, it's not, we haven't done anything. For a while, we thought it was a, that's fair, Alex. For a while, we thought that it was a hotkey issue, that like, because it was often happening when Jeff or Aaron, something. Right? So it's like, oh, we are just accidentally hitting a hotkey. We haven't touched anything.
No,
we've not. So I think we have officially solved the hotkey problem.
I think we need to talk to Yeti about this microphone.
About this microphone that has a ghost inside of it.
Yeah, and say, look, this is a bad report. I mean, we're talking right now. Yeti, if you're watching, if you're one of the 5 people watching, then
we need to talk about your possessed microphone that you sent us.
We have a problem. This is the problem right here. You can just we paid a pretty penny to get a really good one, and
it does like sound good when it works, but the spirit that lives within it seems to be quite upset with us most of the time. And like, again, it's not like,
hey, you've angered it.
Oh
no! I hope that's not a reference to the fact that we actually have.
Okay, the audio is fine. All right, good.
God. Yeah, I was just like, we did it because maybe wiggling the cord is what it is.
We have an excellent QA tester. Like, it's been like, we check it all the time.
I know.
Like, it has been
I keep judging you guys for your inability to fix it
many times. Like, but here you see firsthand. Like, it just does
garbage.
this. It just does this. So,
okay.
Cool.
The fun times with Fireside Chat.
Oh my God.
Where do I want to take you from this? I mean, we have been. No, I want to ask you more questions. Do you think we've covered a lot of what you've been doing?
I mean, I think we covered a lot of the sort of like general structure of the brainstorming that we've been doing in the work on the
Did any of the
document.
Brainstorming live on? Like, I threw in 100 ideas and none of those survived.
Definitely the Evan created a list of all of the potential things the Mugu could do.
It was just pretty random.
A lot of them have. Like, none of those have been discounted.
Well,
none of them have been cut out for sure.
I was just finding that it was so literal in the, like, one could be hot, the other could be cold, and I was like, let's push, let's give that a side of this.
Let's see what else. And actually, that even just reading that list out was like, oh, we've been thinking about this in a very like elemental sense, like what like what are like
things are lava or water
or electricity ground. Or whatever, and thinking very much of like that kind of power-based stuff. But like, what about music? What about aesthetics? What about color? What about a hat? Whatever. What about?
That's why I threw that wrench in.
Yeah, absolutely. And thinking about it that way, I think actually like was very helpful and informed a lot of our thinking, and definitely expanded like the types of problems and problem solving that like do.
Okay. Well,
so yeah.
You'll let me know when I need to jump in and do that over
Absolutely.
again.
No, that was mega helpful. Ghost emoji.
Adrian's giving that's the ghost. Ghost emoji. So I could rattle on for a long time, but I'm waiting for this microphone to die again on us.
It's probably fine now.
The award show is in 1 hour from now, so
probably you should get.
I need to kind of wrap things up a little bit.
All right. So what are the like? Do you have any like burning final questions or like anything that you feel like? You haven't asked me yet in terms of how this process is going.
I am also interested in a kind of an update on where all the socials going. I mean,
sure.
I can see that we're at 645 people.
Yeah, and viewed this stream, so that's individual views, so that's pretty great.
Yeah, and so we're climbing there all the time.
Yep, we've officially hit 30 Twitch followers, for which we are very happy.
Do we have people who come for one thing and not the other things?
We definitely have. We have a few people who are interested in all of things, which is nice. We definitely, Alex for sure. We definitely have some people who are more interested in the live coding, and some people more interested in art. That is pretty clear that they're each of those things have audiences.
Right.
So that's
and then there's the huge fan base for just
we just got a new follower. Thank you, Pete Cooper.
Hey.
Thank you for joining us.
Then we have this huge audience just comes for you and I.
Oh yes, the vast number of fans
that's the one.
Choose to come see us. Always great.
And,
great.
Yeah, moving up.
Creeping up every time.
I mean, Medium. You've got these Medium articles that have gone out there. I mean, they're trying to get people thinking about the process that we're putting in.
Yeah, so we're doing weekly updates. Some sort of a reflection on what we've done and accomplished this week. Oh, Echo is back. Cool. So we'll do that.
Okay. Happened.
Who knows? And touch it.
Yeah.
It's officially
key audio on Yeti. You
yeah.
But I'm going to talk about something that we had, which is a person onto our. His name's Mike. Details into Michael on our team. Bringing a lot.
He's from the Immerse Network. What I do with game. Look like it is also let's to be primary research have come he and I operating on that we're pumped the game.
Good part to do a lot of the stuff overloaded with.
There's a lot. I for sure. Man.
All right.
How about we're gonna try again? We're gonna try again. We're gonna turn.
Well,
is Mike back on? Yes, Mike back on.
You guys are very good for putting up with something like troubleshoot this. I don't think that it's worth the four people on this feed. The pain of this through the echo.
Oh my god.
We really appreciate and we don't want to punish this. We have microphones that we're
sorting out.
We are going to work out issues and we're gonna wrap things up. We'll bring on Michael. We bring on Michael someday.
That sounds great. The next time he's available in the office, I'll do like a writing update here. Start digging into things. I think they're digging into things. I think that would be great. I'd do it. I'd do it.
Would that be
terrifying? I mean, it would be terrifying for me as somebody who hates having to show anybody my work. But I'm working.
Yeah.
Working on it.
Yeah.
It's for sure. It's like I know of mine. It's like I know I need it. At least in this state that I don't feel
overwhelming
like
shame.
overwhelming shame.
Reveal
right?
it
When
to
I
a person.
reveal it to a person.
That said,
But that said, like
the team has
everybody
been
on the team has been
amazing.
so amazing about like
progress work.
putting their in progress work out there.
It's hard to.
like,
It's hard to.
like,
Tide,
I'm not.
you know,
It's like
tide.
I'm not
Person
going
who-
to be the person who does it.
Like,
Like, you know
uh,
what I mean?
yeah.
Like Jeff
Extraordinarily-
has been extraordinarily brave about revealing his entire
Process,
you know,
yeah.
like process. You
Yeah.
know, like Aaron
Left in
has
with 2
immediately
feet
left
and-
in with 2 feet and like
and done live.
done live coding.
All of our
all of our creative interns,
Fazaya
Michael
have-
and Fazaya have been like incredible. So
I feel like
I feel like I can't
Oh,
be the one
goodness,
that's
no.
like, oh goodness, no, my incredibly private,
create
Right.
creative
like
process
my
or
own
whatever.
hang-up.
It's
So
just
of
like
course
my
I
own
would.
hang-up. So of course I would.
Get an interesting following. I don't know if I know. I don't know if I know writing sessions. Having sessions. You can let us know.
I don't think
Let us
I
know.
don't think I have ever heard of
that.
that. Ever heard of that?
Like,
Right.
I do not think that
Personally.
has
Like,
happened.
I do not think that has
But
happened.
if anybody
So if
wants to, like,
anybody wants to
watch
like,
me talk to
watch
myself
me
a
talk
lot.
to myself a lot, and
Yeah.
like
It's no
agonize-
different. It's no different
agonize
than
over-
For
Aaron.
sure, there's just
there's
myself
just
in
like
a lot of like
talking myself
writing a
in lot of,
sentence and
like, writing a sentence and
57
deleting it,
times,
like,
and then
57
writing-
times,
Yeah.
and then
I
I
wrote
think
the
you
first time.
should
exactly what I wrote the
choose.
first time.
Our website. Our
Yeah.
on a live stream.
Yeah.
On a
Okay.
live stream. Could be
All
fun.
right, that could be
That could
fun.
be fun.
All right, that could be fun.
Audio. Sorry about all the audio. We're going a brick at our mic. A brick at our. You're
You're gonna take it out back. We're
I
gonna take it out back.
totally
Okay.
isolated. Totally isolated.
Microphone.
The
No, it's the
microphone's
microphone.
fault.
It
The
has to
microphone.
be.
And we're gonna figure that out. Thank you.
Thank you.
And tonight. Wish us
Yeah,
luck
thank-
tonight.
Yeah,
One of
thank
us.
you.
luck.
One of us-
One of us.
One
luck.
Somebody,
of us,
the luck-
somebody, the luck.
Just
in
cast it in
general,
our direction.
Just cast it in our direction.
Win.
Somebody
Right.
will
Not Orphan Black.
not Orphan Black, but us.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Joining
and,
us
thank
as
you so much for
always,
joining us
and
as always, and
next time, folks.
we'll see you next time, folks. Bye. Bye.